Welcome to the Idefine TV Business Spotlight series, where I, your host, CF Jackson, get to bring to you some of the most inspiring and informative guests. And today is no different. Today we have with us Annie Burke, an international best-selling author and animal communicator. Animals are her passion. She has conversations with animals, living and in spirit, to convey messages and provide peace of mind for their human parents. Her passion is to raise global awareness of the importance of animals. It is during her podcast, What Animals Tell Me, where Annie shares some of the amazing conversations she's had with animals. She offers online masterclasses that are free, and she mentors animal parents. Welcome, Annie, to the Idefine TV Business Spotlight series. Glad to have you today.
Thank you so much, CF, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Me too, because you got me thinking, and I was thinking to myself, well, where do you want to start in this conversation? And it made me go back into my childhood. Now, I know you over in Australia. I'm not sure if it's the same for you as but here, but for me, it made me go back as a kid to look at those shows that I used to watch. One of my favorite ones was Lassie, Lassie and Timmy. And Lassie always was saving the day, saving the town, saving the community. And as a kid, I didn't have a pet, but I wanted a pet like Lassie because Lassie was saving some lives. And then you had, for fast forward into Benji. Benji was in the right place at the right time. And I think Benji may have been out in California somewhere. And then you had the talking horse, Mr. Ed, who was doing some things in the barn. And I'm thinking to myself, it was great conversation, great entertainment. But it seems to me, if you can answer it for yourself, or if it's the same there, is that it seems as if more people are receptive to the entertainment side of things, but do you feel people are more apprehensive to the possibility of being able to talk and understand animals? It's okay for the big screen, but not in the real world. Do you come across that?
Look, I think a lot of people just haven't been exposed to experiencing conversations with animals or engaging an animal communicator to talk with their animals. So I think although there are a number of animal communicators and animal mediums, so people who talk with animals and animals in spirit, it's not commonly accepted yet as sort of a mainstream service for animal parents or pet parents. So I didn't really know anything about it till over 12 years ago when I first started. And it's just totally changed my understanding of reality. So I appreciate it is difficult for people to embrace, and a lot of people are very skeptical about it. And I've had people tell me, oh yeah, I've got a dog, he understands no and he understands walk, and that's about it. But with the conversations I've had with them, they're highly intelligent, they're very intuitive, they've got amazing vocabulary. Some of them even use words that I've never heard of before, and when I look them up, they're in the dictionary. It's just phenomenal. So we can have a real conversation, and animal communication, the telepathic animal communication, which I'm now teaching animal parents so that they can talk with their own animals, is what animals use themselves to communicate with each other. So it's what they use in the wild and what our domestic animals use. And it's really fascinating because it's not something that you can hear audibly. So you actually hear their voices in your head. It's not in your ear. So it's quite strange when you start hearing these voices in your head. And they've all got different voices, just like humans. So different tones, different accents, all sorts of different things. You can hear them when they're smiling and laughing. Some of them are real practical jokers. But as well as actually, sending proper sentences, like us having a conversation now, they can also send images. So if they want to send me the word love, they could say it audibly and I would hear it in my head, or somehow they can send me the pictures of the letters and I would receive LOVE as little letters, or they can show me a video. And I still don't understand how they can do that. But if I don't understand what they're trying to tell me, I ask them to show me. And somehow there's this little video that starts playing in my head. And so I've had my cats showing me things through their eyes. So I've seen images of me. So I asked my boy cat at the time what were his favourite parts of the day. And the next thing I see an image of me walking through the garage door coming home from work. Now, that was through his eyes. And then he showed me him jumping up on my lap on the recliner chair, because he used to love lying on my lap and having a Reiki session. So that was just fascinating how he put that in my head, and to see it through his eyes. And they can also send feelings and emotions. So with the mentorship program that I'm now offering, we practice all those different ways of communicating so that animal parents are confident. And then it means they can ask their animals what they want to know when they want to know it. And when our animals have something urgent to tell us, then they can tell us straight away. So if people are worrying about why they've changed behaviour or why they've got certain health issues, would they be happy if we get another animal? How are they going to feel if we move house? All of those kind of questions are things that the animals can answer.
That is something else. It's amazing because I was telling you beforehand, we used to have a cat, and my cat used to always annoy my mom. The cat was to get fed at 5 o'clock. That's the dinner time. My mom come home, she's beat, tired. She wants to get on the sofa. He already knows if he agitates her enough, knock things off the coffee table, jumps up on her. And as soon as she says, go feed that cat, he knows the words. He jumps down, he looks back at me, kind of, I think, with a little funky look at it. He look at me like, oh, I told you, I'm going to get this food before 5 o'clock. And it knew, like, he knew what it meant. And, I think people just, even though it's entertainment for Lassie and Benji and Mr. Ed and all, but actuality, there's reality, and animals be able to communicate. I mean, they got brains, so why don't we think they can communicate in some form of fashion? But I guess the difference is being able to receive the communication in a way that you're able to receive it. That's the difference, don't you think? That's how people are, like, kind of taken aback. They can understand maybe a paw hit there, but you're able to really have a actual full communication that we are having, but it's different in terms of not just verbiage, but in the, I guess, in your, I would say your third eye. Where is it located?
Yeah, it's in your head. But it's interesting because telepathic communication is something that we do automatically when we're children. And if you look at little kids, they'll squat right down next to the animal and they'll tell you what they've said. And most parents think, oh, yes, dear, very nice, but not understand that they're genuinely having a conversation. But something happens as we grow up and we just stop doing it, but we can reactivate that ability again. And then you can have this two-way conversation with them. So for me, with my animals, if I have to go away, I can tell them where I'm going, what I'm doing, and how long I'm going to be away, and when I'll be back again. And they understand the concept of time. So I now tell people whose animals seem to have separation anxiety how important it is to tell them what's happening. So if you can say, look, I'm going to the shops, I'm going to get dog food and dog treats, I'll be back in 2 hours. Yeah. They know where you're going, and you've said that you're definitely going to come back, so they don't have to be worrying that they may never see you again. So particularly for animals who have experienced abandonment issues before, every time you walk out the door, they don't know if they're ever going to see you again. Yeah. So having a verbal conversation with them, even though you can't understand what they're saying back to you, they understand every word that you say. And they just love us having a conversation with them, and that changes your relationship. I've had people tell me after listening to my masterclasses, they've gone and told their animal how much they love them and how grateful they're for having them in their life. And it changes the relationship, just that one verbal communication, because the animals now know that they understand what you're saying. And they just love listening to what's happening to you during your day. They don't mind how unexciting you may think it is, like doing the washing up or folding clothes or something. They just want to be involved because you're their world. And that's what one of my cats said to me. I just want to be involved. Like, they just love knowing what's going on. And yes, it is something that everyone can learn to do, as long as they're open to the fact that animals have souls, because they're a soul that's come to earth in an animal body. We're a soul that's come to earth in a human body. But, we're highly intelligent. Some of these souls have had multiple lifetimes before, and that's why I think they know some of these very old words that we don't use in common day language now, because they've used those words before. But they know what's going on with us. They tune into our vibrational frequency. As we get sick, our vibrational frequency drops, and they can pick that up And often they know before we're consciously aware that something is wrong. And then they'll instinctively, be spending a lot of time close to us or even lying on us, trying to help us to get better quicker. But
Yeah.
they can also detect our mood. So if we're upset or about something or anxious or some other emotion, they will pick that up. So again, they'll instinctively come and try and comfort us and spend time with us.
Hmm.
So, and some of them have a particular purpose being with us. So
Okay.
some of them are here to teach us. So when we know how to communicate with them, then they can teach us. Some of them are here as healers, so they can heal us. And for particularly for people who do energetic healing as their business, they will often have animals with them to help support the work they're doing. And then some of them are guardians, like you've said about Lassie protecting the town, and they've instinctively come to protect their humans. And so they're very concerned about your well-being. I've got one client with a cat and another client with a dog, and both of them growl if someone comes to the front door that they don't like the vibes of. They're picking up the energy, and they're just telling their parents, we don't think you should have this person in the house. So
Wow.
animals are very good judges of character. And again, that's part of their warning system for us. They're trying to protect us.
It's so funny you just say that because when the cat we ended up having, mom, she found the cat while she was out camping. When she brought it was a little kitten. It was not, I wanted a kitten, but it was still a kitten. And as we had the cat for longer, turned into a cat, I could tell if I was home alone, even if I'm not home alone, I could tell when a male was at the door because our cat would retreat and go into one of the bedrooms. So I would actually, if I'm home alone, I'll peep out the peephole to see. And every time, like clockwork, I knew before even looking, I said, it's a man at the door. It was a female
Yep.
at the door, didn't care. He stayed in the
Mm-hmm.
living room with this, but every time I knew that there was going to be a male at the door. So it's amazing how the communication lines are there to where if you just pay attention to the communication. But a lot of people, do you think just outside what you do, just everyday people who have pets, they love their pets, but they miss the signs that their pets are giving them? And why do they overlook that? Those signs, or are they just not open to recognizing that the pet has more ways to communicate other than I'm hungry, it's time to go out and use the bathroom or something like that?
I think it's having the awareness that animals can communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're trying to tell us things all the time. But until we can communicate telepathically with them, they have to rely on their eyes, so the way they look at us, or vocalization. So some of them will make different noises to just let us know either there's something wrong or they're trying to tell us something important, or they can use body language. Or one of the most effective things they can do is to change behavior, because we notice if they change behavior, and bathroom etiquette is the most common way that they can get our attention. If
That
they
is so
start
true.
suddenly changing where they use as a bathroom, we notice. And it's interesting because every animal I've spoken with who's done that, they're not being deliberately naughty. There's a genuine reason why they've changed their behavior. So they're either trying to let their human know that something's wrong, or sometimes they're trying to let their humans know who they are. And so I've had some experiences where we can get different souls in our animals. So some of the conversations I've had have now made me understand that our animals can reincarnate, their souls can come back again. And I knew nothing about that till one of my animals let me experience it. It's just phenomenal. Not every animal's destiny is to return, but a lot of them do. And so sometimes our animals are changing behavior and being very vocal because they're trying to let us know who they actually are. And so they may have a previous animal's soul in them. So it may be your childhood pet that's come back to you again years later to have another lifetime with you. It may have been an animal who's had a past life with you that's come back to be with you again. And in some cases, it's a human soul who you've known who's now in your animal. So amazingly, I've now got clients and we've worked out it's their grandparents or a parent or a child whose aspect of their soul is now in their animal, and they've come back to be with that human that they know. So I just really love having conversations and finding out the connections, because some of us have incredibly long soul connections with our animals. And I've had people say, they've had lots of animals, but they don't know why the bond is so strong with this particular animal. And I find out that they've had past lives together. Like one of my cats had lives with me in ancient Egypt, like thousands of years ago, and our souls have just kept interweaving since. And he's had some animal lifetimes with me, and he's had some human lifetimes with me. And it's fascinating because animals remember their past lives. We don't, but they can tell me. And it's just bizarre. I spoke to one animal and they told me they'd had a lifetime with their human in Houston, Texas in 1919. Now, I didn't even know whether Houston had been established at that stage, but when I researched it, yes, it had. And the animal can remember the details. I spoke to another animal yesterday and they had a lifetime with their human in the 1900s. And they could tell me what their human was doing. So just amazing what they know and what they can tell us. But as well as just finding out what's happening in their day-to-day world, they can actually give us guidance because some of them are very evolved souls. Yeah. So they know why we're here on the planet. They know what our life purpose is. They know what soul lessons we're trying to learn. And some of them have come to us so that they can actually help us with those lessons. They have lessons too. And sometimes they're with us so we can help them with their lessons. So again, it's interesting understanding the dynamics of the relationship and why they're with us. But, you know, that's what I want all animal parents to understand, that animals are very intelligent and intuitive. They do understand every word we say. Yeah. Now, if you tell them don't jump on the table, they do actually hear you, but because they have freedom of choice, they can decide whether they want to jump on the table or not, but they certainly hear you. But if you explain why you don't want them to jump on the table, then they can consider that when they make their decision about whether they want to jump or not. So one of my clients had a cat who loves running up her curtains, and she was worried she was going to wreck the curtains, and she just kept telling her no, and the cat was just, she thought, ignoring her. And I explained that no, the cat will have heard you, but you haven't given her a good enough reason why she needs to stop. So just explain to her why you don't want her to do it. So she did. The cat stopped climbing the curtains.
It's funny you say that. It's funny because our cat was on the second floor, and we had a lake in the back, and it was very nice. And he was get on the windowsill. And sometimes there was birds down in Florida, so he'll get kind of frisky. And sometimes, or a lizard would be on the screen, like no. And then one time happened, the cat broke through the screen. He was dangling out. I said, Cajun, you can't be, And ever since then, that cat paid attention. He was not trying to get to the lizard anymore because he was like, and they're like, yeah, you about to fall down. I mean, you still have 9 lives because we weren't that high. I mean, he would have landed on his feet, I'm sure. But the thought was that he was not expecting to get that barrier of being on the windowsill and getting and going into outside and having himself dangling. And thank God I was there, because I've been heard the cat was like, oh, what happened to our cat? And the screen is gone, But let me ask you this. So with that said, everything you're saying about how they have their purpose, how do they serve a purpose when it comes, because people say with elderly people, those who are with Alzheimer's, different type of dementia, or, just aging, that animals are such a great value to them, and somehow it brings new life to them. Do you understand that? It could be part of the dementia, kind of having some type of communication? Why is that happening?
I think the animals are very sensitive to our needs. And so if they know that there's a health issue with someone, then they can help give healing energy to them. There's been a lot of research done on the healing benefits of having an animal, scientific studies, and they actually affect us on a physiological level. So they can help reduce our blood pressure, they can reduce the risk of strokes, they help with emotional well-being, they help preventing isolation because we've then got contact with someone. So a lot of the older people who live at home on their own, having an animal may be the only way that they're getting any interaction during the day, and also receiving love. And that's one of the big things that animals do for us, is help us to experience unconditional love. And what they're actually doing on a spiritual level is evolving our heart. And that's something that we come here to learn on Earth in our lifetimes. And that's something critical that our animals do. And there's a lovely quote from Anatole, I'll have to think what the surname is now, saying that unless one has loved an animal, a part of one's soul remains unawakened.
That's
And
I
I just think that's beautiful.
yeah.
And I've had so many people say, yes, that's absolutely true, because they do change our lives.
Yeah.
And yes, it's sad that they don't live as long as we do and we have to say goodbye to them,
Yeah.
but they make such a difference to our lives while they're here.
Yeah.
But then for people who are listening who do have an animal in spirit, the animals have taught me that we can still keep connecting with their soul in spirit. So even though their physical body doesn't exist anymore, their soul does. So the soul endures forever. So we can still keep connecting with them. So I've had lots of conversations with animals in spirit,
Yeah.
and that can give the animal parents lots of peace of mind, because I can find out, why did they pass away if the parents don't know, or if they weren't there to say goodbye, then they can exchange messages with each other.
Yeah.
And then I can also ask if they know if they're going to reincarnate, because if they know, then they can tell me what body they're coming back in again if they've arranged that. So they can tell me what breed they're going to be, what color, what gender. Sometimes they can give me a time frame, and sometimes even where the parents can look for them if they're at a specific rescue agency. So it's just fascinating. I love hearing the before and after
Yeah.
stories and seeing the photos when they come home in their new body. It's just amazing, because sometimes they look very similar. Sometimes they're completely different. I've had one cat who came back as a dog, and she wanted to come back as a dog. She wanted to go to dog-friendly cafes. She wanted to go for walks with her mum. She wanted to go on the family holidays and not be stuck at home. So she's come back as a dog, absolutely loving it. I've spoken to someone else, and his dog's soul has come back in his cow. And the cow comes running up to him like a dog and exhibits a lot of behaviors of the dog. So it just sounds bizarre and incredible when you haven't experienced it yourself. But once you have, it is life-changing. And as I said, it's totally changed my understanding of reality now, knowing that we can have conversations with our animals, how much wisdom they can share with us,
Yeah.
and the fact that they can come back to us when it's their destiny to come back. That's just so powerful, and it really helps the grief process knowing that they're coming back. So yeah, I just love having those conversations.
Let me ask you this question. So, because we know time is moving by so swiftly here, let me ask you this. So, if someone's tuning in and watching, how can they connect with you? They want to reach out in terms of how do you service them? And you mentioned you have clients, you have a master class. So, what is the best if someone has a pet that's now in the present, or a pet that has gone? How can
Mhm.
you service them? And you can help anybody around the world. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. So I connect with animals through photographs. So I just need a photograph showing the animal's face with their eyes open and the questions that they want me to ask. It's a free will choice for animals, so I can't force them to have a conversation. I can't force them to answer questions. But every domestic animal I've spoken with is just delighted to have a conversation with their humans and answer their questions. But it also gives them a chance to pass on their messages to their humans as well. So my website is www.cosmicheartintuitive.com.au, or you can find me as Annie Burke, Bourke, on Facebook or LinkedIn. And yes, I do offer free masterclasses every month for animal parents on all sorts of different topics, and I advertise them on social media. I also have a private Facebook group called Consciously Understanding Your Animals. So people can message me to join that group as well.
Yeah.
I have a newsletter where I talk about some of my client stories and upcoming events. So there's a number of different ways that people can interact. And then, yes, I do offer conversations with animals living or in spirit.
Yeah.
And I also offer the mentorship program so that people can then learn to communicate with their own animals living or in spirit. And I
Awesome.
have a number of free guides for animal parents. And I've also got 2 books. So The Bridge to Animal Consciousness was my first book. And that's really part of my life purpose in helping people to understand their animals on a deeper level. So I talk about soul journeys, why animals are here, saying hello, saying goodbye, benefits of animal communication, and some practical things we can do to help make a difference for animals. And then my second book, Evolving Hearts and Souls, The Guide to Spiritual Awakening, when I had my spiritual awakening, I didn't know that's what was happening. I didn't know what was happening, and I couldn't find anyone to help me. It was just really weird. So I thought I'd write a book about some of my experiences just to help other people so that they can navigate the journey with less uncertainty, knowing that they're not really weird and just knowing that some very strange things can happen as you wake up and your understanding of reality totally changes.
Wow.
And I'm just writing my third book now, which is the
Okay.
sequel to the animal book. I'm hoping that that will be out in October,
Okay.
which will include a lot more about the soul journeys and soul purpose of animals, lots of stories from animals I've spoken with and the before and after when they come back again. I wrote those books in 2018, and they've just taught me so much since then that I've got to write another book. And then I'm writing a third book, so it'll end up being a trilogy of the books about the animals.
Nice. So, I mean, so time is moving by so swiftly. So, give in like 1 minute or less, like give those who have animals, who have pets, one tip they can do now just to be more in tune and more aware with the animals. Is there something you can share with us in a minute or less?
The easiest thing to do is to just tell your animal that you love them and you're grateful that they're with you. Just saying that verbally every day makes a powerful difference. Love and gratitude are very high frequency words, and our animals respond to that. They know we love them, but
Yeah.
to hear us say it is something completely different. And that will change. They might look at you differently. They might be more affectionate, but that's one of the most powerful things you can do, and understand that they're understanding what you're saying,
Mm.
and just keep talking with them. That just makes such a difference to your relationship.
Wow. That goes in any relationship, really. Just express your love and appreciation and gratitude. I mean, that this goes into the animals as well. I mean, she's dropped so much great stuff in terms of just being in presence of making me want to go get a new cat. I don't know though, they can be kind of prissy. But I really enjoyed the conversation because you have brought on the ideas. It's just not entertainment watching Lassie grow up as a kid or watching Benji, but then there is a deeper relationship when it comes to your pet, and just taking the time, if you allow it, it can probably elevate the owner, the pet parent, to be more in tune with themselves, to be more in alignment with them, so they're more on a larger or greater spiritual path, because now
Exactly.
they want to communicate with their pet more. So it's like there's so much great positive energy. Either the dog or cat is biting you because it's angry, or you're just angry because you came home with a bad day. But together, you come together like a husband or a wife. You just gotta love one another and have a good time. So
Mhm.
I really do love it.
Yep. So yes, they definitely do expand our consciousness. So it's all part of our spiritual journey, but it's all animals. So it's not just dogs and cats. So I've spoken with birds, with snakes, with a cow, with horses. I go to the zoo and talk to all different animals at zoos because they all can talk telepathically, and it makes such a difference when someone's asking them how they are, and is there anything you can do to make their life more comfortable, and they feel so much more fulfilled when someone's inquired about them and wants to make life better for them. And that's something that we can all do, is make a difference for animals. There's so many different ways we can do that.
Yeah. But you
Mm.
heard it. I mean, you got a QR code, reach out. She has a couple books for you to get a copy of. Her latest one is coming up in October. Then she has the master classes. Then she has several other ways you can get in her newsletter, her Facebook group. So if you're a pet owner, a pet lover, you know somebody who has pets or who had a pet who has since gone, connect with Annie, and she can definitely help you get more in tune and align with that pet, maybe in the present or in the spirit, because we all have pets, and like my pet has been going, I don't know, I'm sure he passed on by now, but we had to give him away as my mom was moving from Florida to Georgia. But that was a time frame, but that was her buddy. I mean, I'd be gone for months and months and months, and I come home, she can talk to me. The cat, I guess the cat can talk back to her, but she didn't know that. And she would come home and say hi to the cat first. I was like, my goodness, but they are part of the family. And when they go,
Absolutely.
you become heartbroken because either you have to give them the way to rehome the animal, or it passed away. But if a pet has been with you for a long time, you do. And I think about my cat all the time, pictures and all that good stuff. So reach out, connect with her, and how she can help you get more connected in the present or in the spirit with your pet, because it's possible. So I appreciate you for allowing me to have you on the Idefine TV Business Spotlight series. And so great to have you, Annie. In the meantime, between time, I'm CF Jackson with IdefyTV.com, and we are out of here.